Your seedlings are dead and you're trying to figure out why. Let's talk about why your seedlings died and what we can do to prevent it from happening. Let's start with the easiest one. So you started growing your seeds and you're getting these really long shoots coming out and you're really excited because you think you're growing some really tall plants. But I got news for you. You're setting yourself up for disaster. I'm talking about the dreaded leggy seedlings. Good news is, this is one of the easiest things to fix. When I say fix, I mean don't let it happen. If it did happen and you have leggy seedlings, you could try taking them and transplanting them into bigger pots and burying them deeper so that stem is kind of stabilized, but usually that does not turn out too well. You prevent leggy seedlings by getting your lights within a couple inches of your plants. When they first start sprouting, you got to get that light and get it close. This is going to cause your seedlings to stay really short and they get really stocky, which makes them a lot stronger. These lights I'm using are just cheap shop lights. It's probably your best bet. They don't get hot enough to actually burn these plants. And that's good because you want to keep them close for at least a while. I like to keep them here for about a week or two. And when I start seeing the set of true leaves start coming in, that's when I'll move them a little bit further down. So maybe another 2 inches down or so. And that helps the stronger, stocky seedlings start putting out some of that upwards growth. So start them right under the light. Number 2 is going to be called damping off. That's where your seedling starts growing. Looks like everything's going great. And then near the base of the plant, it gets real weak and just kind of falls over. This is a fungal disease, but there are other issues that lead to this. Now, this is kind of what damping off would start to look like when it first begins, but this is actually not damping off. These seeds are just kind of growing really weird here. It's actually pretty strong and it's starting to get its second set of true leaves. But if you start seeing this happening with any other case, you probably did something wrong. And one of the things you probably did wrong was overwater. So not only is wet soil a breeding ground for fungi, it drowns your roots out and it puts a lot of extra moisture into your seedlings. And when they get heavy up top, they fall over. If you give your seedlings too much water, it's really hard for them to recover. Usually something bad is going to happen before the soil has time to dry out. So what you may want to consider is called bottom watering. With these soil blocks, it's really easy because I can see all the way around here and I can see if they need water or not. So what I do is I'll just maybe put like a 1/4 inch of water in here or so. Make sure it kind of swishes around to my blocks. And what you notice is they are sucking up the water. And I can watch the water go up here and I'll know when this is fully saturated. If you're using pots or solo cups, you have drainage holes on the bottom. What you do is set it inside here and you see the same thing. It's starting to suck up the water. You'll start noticing that the pot gets kind of heavy, and that's when you know it's taking on quite a bit of water. You don't want too much to go in there, but when you do it this way, the soil is kind of a little bit smart and it knows when to stop. If you insist on being able to see where the water's going, make sure if you're top watering, you only put a little bit in there. You don't want it to start coming out the bottom holes because stuff like pots, solo cups, and that, there's no airflow around here. That water is going to be trapped in there. It's going to cause fungal issue with the roots, root rot, and your plants are probably going to die. I'd suggest if you think you need to water, wait a day or so and then water. They do not need as much water as we think they do. The last issue we're going to talk about also deals with plants that are growing really good and kind of just fall over. It's because your stems are not strong. Since you're starting plants indoors, they're not subject to wind and all the other forces in nature that are going to make them strong. One way to replicate wind outside is to put a fan on your seedlings. Now that's pretty good. It helps keep the plants themselves pretty dry so the fungus can't grow on them. Makes them kind of sway around a lot so the base of the stem starts to get really strong. But with my setup, a fan really isn't going to work out great for me. There's something else you can do if you don't want to buy a fan or set it up and pay the electricity bill on it. One of the things you can do is come in here and pretty quickly just flick your seedlings around. Maybe do it for like 10 seconds or so each plant. You don't have to go nuts. I do this in the morning when I wake up, and then before I turn the light off, I do the same thing. You can also kind of take them and bend them, let them snap back. You don't need to go nuts with this. You don't want to hurt them. You just kind of want them to get stronger at the base. It injures them a little bit, and they start to callus up, and it makes those stems stronger. If you have an actual row, a whole tray of seedlings going, you could take your hand, just give them a nice brush, pet them like a fragile young kitten. And when you're doing this, you're making these plants stronger. It kind of replicates wind outdoors. But if you don't want to spend all your time petting your seedlings like this, there's another thing you can do, which is actually my favorite, the blow. The blow is really easy, but you're probably going to get lightheaded doing this. I get pretty lightheaded while doing this, but I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm standing by my plants here, in this case the chives and the apple trees, who have gotten a decent dose of the blow. I just go over here and go. These work great, but like I said, if you can get the fan in there, just put a fan on them on a low setting and just kind of let them bounce around a little bit. It'll strengthen up your stems. If your seedlings are dying, chances are the 3 things we covered are the problem. Follow these steps and avoid these problems. And as you can see, I still really do not have a lot going on inside the house right now. I have not started a lot of seeds. I'm in zone 5B, and I have noticed a lot of people in 5B have started a lot of plants, and they're really big and healthy. But I got news for you. Most of those plants cannot go out till June. And even some of your cold weather crops, we're going to have snow and ice. They're probably going to die unless you cover them. All my major seed starting is starting the week after Easter. And that's going to put me in a position to transition some of my cooler crops out in mid-May and my warmer plants in early June. And that was the end goal. The beans my kid planted are really taking up a lot of space over here. I was going to just tear them out and try to hide them from him. Maybe he wouldn't notice. But we do have a bunch of beans forming. So I'm going to see what plays out with these beans. Maybe we'll get a harvest and then I'll say it's done and we'll just compost it, make some room here. It just goes to show with these cheap shop lights what you can do. I mean, there's 5 bean plants inside here. They're overcrowded. I never water these things. I can't get rid of them. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you subscribe, comment. I try to respond to all the comments, and make sure you like the video. Got a lot of decent content coming up this season, so you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.